Grey Hollow Manor. A name that echoed through the annals of local folklore. A name that carried with it a weight of history and mystery. Even the name whispered on the wind sent shivers down the spines of locals. It was as if the very air around the manor was charged with an unseen energy, a palpable sense of dread that seeped into the bones of anyone who dared to venture too close. It stood atop a windswept hill, a spectre against the stormy sky. The manor loomed large, its silhouette a dark and foreboding presence that seemed to watch over the village below. The storm clouds gathered around it as if drawn to its dark allure, casting the house in an eternal twilight. The manor was once grand, a testament to a bygone era. Built in the late 1800s, it was a marvel of Victorian architecture with its intricate woodwork, grand staircases and opulent rooms. It was a place of beauty and elegance, a symbol of wealth and status. Now it was a decaying corpse of wood and stone. The once grand facade was now a crumbling ruin, the paint peeling, the wood rotting, the stonework cracked and broken. It was a shadow of its former self, a haunting reminder of what once was. Vines, like skeletal fingers, clutched at its crumbling facade. They twisted and turned, wrapping themselves around the house as if trying to pull it down into the earth. The vines were a symbol of the decay and neglect that had taken hold of the manor, a sign of the relentless passage of time. Windows, like vacant eyes, stared out blindly. They were dark and empty, the glass shattered, the frames rotting. It was as if the house itself was watching, waiting, biding its time. The windows were a reflection of the emptiness and despair that had taken hold of the manor. The house breathed an air of sorrow, of secrets best left undisturbed. It was a place of sadness and loss, a place where the past lingered, haunting the present. The air was thick with the weight of history, the walls echoing with the whispers of those who had come before. The locals spoke of it in hushed tones. They told stories of the manor's dark past, of the tragedies that had befallen its inhabitants. They spoke of the strange occurrences, the unexplained phenomena, the eerie happenings that seemed to plague the house. They told tales of a darkness that clung to the manor, a darkness that seemed to seep into the very walls, a malevolent force that could not be explained. It was a darkness that seemed to feed on the fear and despair of those who entered the house, a darkness born of tragedy and despair. The manor had seen its share of sorrow, its walls bearing witness to the pain and suffering of its inhabitants. It was a place where dreams had been shattered, where lives had been lost, where hope had been extinguished. Some whispered of ghostly apparitions, of disembodied screams echoing in the night. They spoke of the spirits of those who had died in the manor, their souls trapped, unable to move on. The ghostly figures were said to roam the halls, their presence felt but never seen. Others spoke of a malevolence that permeated the very walls, a dark energy that seemed to pulse through the house, a force that could not be explained. It was a malevolence that seemed to feed on the fear and despair of those who entered the house. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. Grey Hollow Manor was a place of fear. It was a place where the past and present seemed to collide, where the line between the living and the dead was blurred. It was a place that held its secrets close, a place that would never truly be understood. The manor's grim history was forever entwined with the Aldridge family. They were its last occupants, their laughter once echoing through its halls, but their joy was short-lived. Tragedy struck swiftly and without mercy. One stormy night, the manor fell silent. The Aldridges were gone, vanished without a trace. The authorities found no signs of struggle, no forced entry, no explanation. The mystery of their disappearance remained unsolved, a chilling tale whispered around crackling fires. Years passed and the manor stood empty. Its windows, once gleaming with life, were now dark and hollow, like the eyes of a long-forgotten ghost. The paint on the walls had peeled away, revealing the bare bones of the structure, and the garden, once meticulously maintained, had turned into a wild, untamed jungle. The manor had become a silent witness to the passage of time, a relic of a bygone era. It became a local legend, a dare for adventurous teenagers and curious outsiders. Stories of ghostly apparitions, strange noises, and unexplained phenomena circulated among the townsfolk, each tale more chilling than the last. The manor was said to be haunted by the spirits of its former inhabitants, who met untimely and tragic ends. It was a place where the line between the living and the dead was blurred, where the past refused to stay buried. Among them were four friends: Liam, the skeptical one; Emily, the cautious voice of reason; Jake, the thrill-seeker; and Chloe, drawn to the macabre. Each had their own reasons for being there, but they were united by a common goal: to confront their fears and uncover the truth. Liam, with his logical mind, refused to believe in the supernatural. Emily, always the pragmatist, was there to keep the group grounded. Jake, ever the adrenaline junkie, saw it as the ultimate thrill. And Chloe, with her fascination for the dark and mysterious, felt an inexplicable pull towards the manor. They stood at the foot of the hill, gazing up at the imposing structure. The manor loomed over them, its silhouette stark against the darkening sky. It was as if the house itself was watching them, waiting for them to make their move. The air was thick with anticipation, and the friends could feel their hearts pounding in their chests. They knew that once they crossed the threshold, there would be no turning back. The setting sun cast long, eerie shadows across the overgrown lawn. The once beautiful garden was now a tangled mess of weeds and brambles, and the trees with their gnarled branches looked like skeletal hands reaching out to grab them. The golden light of the sunset bathed the scene in an otherworldly glow, adding to the sense of foreboding that hung in the air. A chill wind rustled the leaves, sounding like whispers of warning. It was as if the very elements were trying to dissuade them from their quest. The wind carried with it the scent of decay and dampness, a reminder of the manor's long abandonment. The friends shivered, not just from the cold, but from the eerie feeling that they were being watched. Despite their apprehension, a sense of morbid curiosity drew them closer. They had heard the stories, but now they wanted to see for themselves. Each step they took was filled with a mixture of fear and excitement. The closer they got, the more they could feel the weight of the manor's history pressing down on them. It was as if the house was alive, breathing, and waiting for them to uncover its secrets. The dare had been made, and they were determined to uncover the truth behind the manor's haunted reputation. They exchanged nervous glances, each silently asking the other if they were ready to proceed. With a deep breath, they pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The air inside was thick and musty, and the darkness seemed to swallow them whole. As they ventured further into the manor, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. The adventure they had embarked on was just beginning, and the secrets of the haunted manor were waiting to be revealed. The old iron gates groaned in protest as they pushed them open. The sound echoed through the still air, a haunting reminder of the passage of time. Each creak seemed to tell a story of neglect and abandonment, as if the gates themselves were reluctant to allow anyone to enter the forgotten realm beyond. The air grew heavy, thick with the smell of decay and damp earth. A dense fog enveloped the surroundings, shrouding everything in a ghostly veil. The ground beneath their feet was soft and yielding, covered in a thick layer of moss and decaying leaves. Every step they took seemed to disturb the silence, sending ripples through the mist. As they stepped onto the overgrown path, a sense of unease settled upon them. The vegetation was wild and untamed, reclaiming the space that had once been carefully tended. Vines and brambles reached out like skeletal fingers, snagging at their clothes and slowing their progress. The path was barely visible, a faint trace through the undergrowth that seemed to lead deeper into the heart of the forgotten garden. It was as if they were stepping into another world, a place untouched by time. The landscape was shrouded in an eerie stillness, as if the very air was holding its breath. The fog swirled around them, creating an otherworldly atmosphere that was both beautiful and unsettling. It felt like they had crossed a threshold into a realm where the past and present coexisted in a delicate balance. The manor's interior was eerily preserved. The grand entrance hall, once a place of opulence and grandeur, now stood silent and empty. The walls were lined with portraits of stern-faced ancestors, their eyes seeming to follow the intruders as they moved through the space. The air was thick with dust, and the faint scent of mildew lingered in the corners. Dust-covered furniture stood frozen in time, as if waiting for the return of its long-gone occupants. Each piece was a relic of a bygone era, a testament to the lives that had once filled the rooms with laughter and conversation. The upholstery was faded and threadbare, and the wood was darkened with age. It was as if the house itself was a museum preserving the memories of its former inhabitants. Cobwebs draped the walls like macabre tapestries. They hung in delicate, intricate patterns, catching the light and casting eerie shadows on the walls. The webs were thick and dusty, evidence of years of neglect. It was as if the spiders had taken over, weaving their own stories in the absence of human activity. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the creaking of the old house and the sound of their own hesitant footsteps. Each creak and groan of the floorboards seemed to amplify the sense of isolation and abandonment. The house felt alive, as if it was watching and waiting. The echoes of their footsteps reverberated through the empty rooms, a stark reminder of the emptiness that now filled the once vibrant space. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and every sound seemed to carry a weight of its own, adding to the sense of unease that permeated the air.